For me as the head of sales, even prepping for this conversation, it really opened my eyes to more ways that I need to be using Claude and our MCP to understand the data faster in Maxio. So I am really excited to show you genuinely a dashboard that I built out, a skill that I use, how I ask it more questions to narrow that skill down to be even more relevant to my day-to-day. And then, how you can set it up recurring to get this information at the tips of your fingertips. So we've already activated, we had, I think at the start of this series, 145 MCP active users, and it's only been 2 sessions, and now we have almost 600. So I'm really excited to hear that folks are finding value in these conversations and jumping into Maxio and setting up the MCP connector, because it is just so powerful. So thank you for joining. I hope you get some bits of information out of this session. I'm going to just briefly introduce myself and give some context on, what matters to me as the head of sales here and what this session has covered so far, because Brandon and I and Chris have all kind of built off of each other's content. So I'm going to talk briefly about what they covered and then dive right into Claude, which is the connector that I use for our MCP. So the teams that I manage at Maxio, I've been here for 7 exciting months. I lead BDRs, solution engineers, new business, account management, CSMs, and sales ops and enablement. So that's important for the context of the information that I care about that I'm going to show here shortly. If you're a customer and I haven't met you yet, I am really eager to get to know you. So please don't hesitate to reach out. My email address is monica.lee@maxio.com. So I do hope that we can connect. I had previously been at NetSuite for a little over 13 years. So at NetSuite, I was in different parts of the organization. I was a leader in account management. And then I was also on the new business side, and I've worked across different segments from emerging to mid-market and corporate, and across different segmentations like software and products. So been in a couple different roles there. It was an incredible journey, but it's been really fun working at Maxio the last couple of months. We have such an incredible team and incredible group of customers that I'm excited to get closer to. So I am based out of Chicago. If you're in Chicago, definitely we need to meet up. Went to La Crosse, and I'm from Wisconsin originally. So great to meet all of you. All right, I mentioned it's been good and exciting. Our CEO kicked off the series, Brandon Jenkins, and he really more so showed like an executive lens on how Claude and Maxio connect so leaders can ask more questions and get access to data faster. He's using these reports for his regular monthly board conversations. So he referenced, how he's using it in that context. And then our Chief Product Officer, Chris Weber, incredibly product detailed. He went into showing us how the MCP pulls reports out of Maxio. He built a dashboard that he then saved as a skill, which is where I'm kicking things off today. So I'm going to pick up where Chris left off. Instead of starting with a blank prompt, I'm going to start from that skill that he had created. And I'll show the dashboard and how I review the data and tailor it more to questions that matter to me, and then saving that skill and running it in an automated fashion so that I'm looking at this information regularly. So I will give just a brief overview of what an MCP is. Again, it's really that AI connector to your data hub like Maxio. So for us, we use Claude. It's really easy to set up. I'll show you briefly here. If you are in your Maxio instance and you go to admin, it's in your integrations portion, Maxio MCP. Your admin is going to go through the terms of service with you and already get that set up. But then you just go to setup connector and it's going to populate a URL. You're going to take that URL then, and in Claude, so I use Claude Cowork. I've got this downloaded on my desktop. I've got it connected to an incredible amount of applications that I could talk about for days. But if we go into customize and connectors, here is where you're going to do the plus sign, add custom connector. You're going to name it and just paste that URL in. it's going to kick you back to Maxio to go through your authentication and get set up, and that's it. It's a bit different of a workflow if you're an A/B customer. So really the only difference is right here in advanced billing, you're going to go down and click on integrations and then get into it that way. But this really is not a huge time commitment to get it set up. It's just, how do you use that data then? So I think there's 3 key ways that I think about Claude that is important to this conversation: chat, projects, and skills. So a chat we're all essentially using, which is where you log in, you write your instructions each time in your chat, you ask it questions. You might train it to put in your own words. Highly suggest using the your voice file so that it knows like your tone and inclination that you want it to kind of match every time it runs something for you. Projects is taking it a step further. So we've used this in marketing. You can plop in reference material, branded decks as a guideline. We've used it for even how to query top of the funnel data that we might connect to Dream Data. And in there, we're going to say, like, always pull from these reports. But in order to have those parameters, it's really that static library. You have to go into that project in order to ask questions. Where a skill takes it further is you could be in any chat within Claude and then just trigger the skill to run, and it will run it. And then you're manipulating the data from there. So a skill is really your step-by-step process that you've already packaged up. So today I'm going to talk about that dashboard that we created in order to see certain stats on the business. But you can create a skill for so many different things. I've created one for LinkedIn posts, for transforming, I've heard of customers using it for transforming like a messy CSV. You always want it to transform into this sort of file with these sorts of headers. You're never going to need to go back in there and adjust that view or parameters. You just run the skill. It automatically kicks it back in the way that you want. And then from there, you're manipulating it. So it saves a ton of time. There's a rule out there in articles that you read about skills where if you're prompting the same thing more than 3 times in a week, you should really have it set up as a skill so that you can just prompt the skill and have it run. So I'm going to show you what the skill looks like. And for us today, I'm really going to walk through the quality of our revenue across the business, spot risk in churn and contraction and opportunities and expansion and upsell. And then I'm going to turn it into more of an operating motion. How am I going to reuse this information? So I think this is the exciting piece of it. I will say this is all dummy data in a sandbox account. So of course, protecting our customers' information and our information, but it is meant to provoke conversation. Like there's some jarring stats in there that are important for me leading a sales organization to understand. So when you go into Claude, you can see this button, customize. This is where I showed you the connectors all live, but you can then go to skills is standard in here. You can see the types of skills that we've built. What is exciting about this webinar series is we are planning to push pre-built skills to our customers as a follow-up to this series. So stay tuned for that. That means that you will not have to do the legwork in building out a skill. It's already there. You're just downloading it to your Claude instance. And if you've got your Maxio MCP connector set up, you're automatically then pulling the data out of your Maxio instance, which is really cool. So what Chris covered was this Maxio briefing. It's the overview. It's more high level on not tailored to me as a CRO, but tailored towards a business. So you can see he did a CEO overview, CFO, CRO. So when you prompt this skill, it asks, which of these roles are you in? And then it looks at information from there. So Chris walked through how he built this skill. Essentially, it was a large number of prompts in an open chat that, hey, I want you to pull these specific Maxio reports. That's where skill.md, that's where all these specifics live. So you can see the execution flow, the critical data to follow. And then here he's got, what reports do I want it to pull from? So he didn't just give the report name when he set up this skill. He also included like the specific links to those reports. So you can control what reports it's pinging out of Maxio that you're using most or that you want to pull from, depending on your role. And then he wanted it to be repeatable. So that's why he created this skill. So at the end of his chat, he was like, take this information and make it a reusable skill. It saved it as a skill, and that's where we are today. So if I am going in and I already pre-populated this, because it can take like 3-ish minutes to populate. So all I did was type in the skill. I'll show you here. So if you go to the plus sign in a new chat and you go to skills, that's where you see Maxio briefing. All I did was click on this and click run. And that's how I got to here. So when you click run, it triggers that skill. It did ask me a pop-up question. Which of those roles am I in? And I selected the CRO performance. That's it. It took me about 90 seconds to enter in this information, not even. And it goes through its analysis. It starts pinging those reports out of Maxio. Now, I want you to know, like, if you're thinking, I don't want all of my, revenue information living outside of Maxio, it's not. It is more of a API call. So just like you would use a BI tool, this is authenticated. If I have certain role permissions, that's going to be shown here. I'm not going to be able to access information that I can't already access inside of Maxio. So it's pulling this information and it's giving me like the 3 key overview items. But what's cool is it pulls up this dashboard. So here's the dashboard that it created based on the skill that Chris had already created. So again, the information that I'm looking at here is relevant to my day-to-day, how I'm reporting things to the board, conversations I'm having. And that's why this is so cool for, leaders in sales to be able to access as well. They don't need to wait on anyone to get these reports and drill in. It's all at their fingertips. So even these, top 6 bar items that I want to see in a few seconds, the ARR, net new for the most recent closed month in March we've got here. And then I've also got my expansion and NRR. And I'm looking at all my trends. It's giving me an executive overview of everything. And ARR is growing. The renewal rate is healthy. But then when I look at this, the quick ratio, it's really showing me that roughly for every $1 that we're bringing in, there's some leaking out the back door, which is more of that growth efficiency problem that I personally need to dig much deeper into. So I haven't done any analysis on this. This is giving me that data right away at my fingertips. You've got the March waterfall and ARR trend over 12 months. This is what we're using in board reports, right? So you can screenshot this, take it into that report. It's right here, and it's updating dynamically as well. And then I've got our ARR movement over 12 months. This line is even showing that net change, and this pattern is visible just at a glance. I'm not in Excel and trying to understand this data. It's right here, and it can be refreshed as often as I wanted. And then even, put in an email to my team or a Slack message to my team, all of which can be prompted in Claude to create. So I mentioned, though, that I need to dive deeper into understanding this. If I look at our renewal pipeline, I'm seeing we have quite a bit in April compared to May and June. So let's pretend it's not the end of April and I've completely missed the boat on influencing these renewals. Let's pretend it's the beginning of April and I'm able to look at this dashboard in real time and think, wow, okay, I need to get my arms around this. I can see my top customers by ARR and then this overall health score. So this is really great insights. It's a little bit high level for me. So let's go back into Claude. Again, I've already prompted this, but I want to dive deeper into the operational side. So I want to understand my contraction by customer segment, my renewals at risk, timing of renewals, and renewals by account manager. And these are just things that came off the top of my head, right? And this is literally the only prompt that I have followed up with. So it goes back to pinging Maxio. It's now looking at by segment, by business line breakdown, top 20 at risk. I'm really interested in this information. So I'm going to open up my dashboard. This is what it pulls up. Now you can see there's a new tab here, operational drill down. This is the information that I wanted. So On the top bar, I've got the April renewable ARR is 19.5 million. Again, this is dummy data, so bear with me, but it's saying that there's a huge bucket of our customers that are renewing in April. And of that bucket, there's 14.5 million at high risk. So I'm thinking that's, roughly 75% of my bookings sitting in the high risk bucket. I need to understand what that is. And I don't need to talk to anyone on my team to go figure that out. I'm going to look at the data, what the data is saying here, and I'm going to dive deeper. So I can also toggle between segments, like which segments are producing well, and, go target those particular account managers. I can look at strategic, mid-market, and our scale customers and understand, the differences in trends that's happening. I can also look at the ARR by pipeline. So this is the kind of insight that kind of drives roadmap discussion too. Where do we need to double down on our investment? Where do I need to go talk to the product team about what's happening in certain pieces of the business and what those trends are? I can also look at that renewal pipeline deeper. So I mentioned a huge bucket of our renewals are in April that are a high risk, but now I've got forward looking into May and June, the rest of the quarter. And I'm going to think about where is that risk distribution and what am I going to do about it? So these are the like top 20 accounts at risk. I'm looking at this chart and I'm like, I don't really understand the health score, where that's pulling from. And this isn't giving me quite enough information to work with. So I want to understand this better. It's flagged 322 logos. What else could I be looking at within this data to action on? So if I go back to Claude, and I created a different chat here because this one took a bit of time. So if I scroll down, I want to make the risk model smarter. I want to add new signals. And I wanted to understand where the risk scoring was coming from. So this is really up to you all on how you want to manage this with your customers and what information you have feeding into Maxio. So for us, I can see the health score. I can see cancellation requests. But what's unique is I could also see overdue invoices. So why aren't I looking at that in the data? That could give me some trends. And then if their invoicing volume has dropped, that means they're using less of the system. So Claude started to run through that information, and it started to kick out, some issues in not the data, but rather how do I further want to think about this information based on what it's finding about my customers. So it started breaking it down into, past due. And this is all information, again, that lives inside of Maxio. So it goes back to this scoring model. It's ranking the top customers and it's telling me what they were ranked and now what they're ranked based on the new signals that I'm looking at. I think it's a bit too cumbersome with the point system and it's not telling me quite directly what I'm looking for. So I just asked it a follow-up question about just focusing on overdue invoices and decreased usage in the system. So now it's looking at these 3 flags. Cancel requested, that's pulling back from Salesforce. Usage down, and past due invoices. And now it's looking at those top 25 accounts by revenue, by product line, and by segment. And then it's asking me, and it's giving me the usage drop as well. So now it's going to ask me, how do I want to look at the flags? And here I've already kind of drummed up what I'm thinking of going off of in order to update that dashboard that I showed you. So 3 things to unlock a new dashboard build. I want to go off of that ratio threshold. Don't need to dig deeper onto the cancellation for Salesforce. I'm not sure how much I trust the other system information. I'm just going to look at cancellation requested, and I'm going to leave the health score out. So now what it's going to do is update that dashboard that you just saw. And it's going to update that tab for us. So while this is thinking, I want to talk about a couple of other ways that I'm using this information. So I'm not sure how many Gong users we have here, but just a word to the wise, like we're using Gong. I can see, all of our conversations with customers in Gong. The way that then I'm asking this information in Claude is, okay, now BigQuery Gong, and I'll add my Gong project ID. because Gong doesn't have an MCP, just BigQuery. So it's more of that data repository. It's holding the data and then you're querying that data. So what I'm asking it now is, okay, give me an executive briefing on these top accounts that are at risk. I want to know the customer sentiment, positive or negative on recent calls. I want to know who my champions are. I want to know the latest conversations and then how I can get involved to make an impact. So all of that I could get by asking more questions in this Claude because I also have it BigQuery set up to there. I can't do that in this demo because that would ping our actual customer data. So, but I wanted to tell you that because, again, there's so many ways that you can leverage this information to then go take action on the business quickly. So that's an important one. While it rebuilds this tab in the dashboard, let's go back to a third tab that I had created. I wanted to show now as the CRO, I wanted to look at expansion opportunities. So not just the health of our revenue is really important. I wanted to look at, is that just from uplift on renewals or is it from actual expansion in modules? What modules are successful? And so that's what I queued up here and what created another tab for me in our dashboard. So let's look at that while the other one is updating. That's called the expansion analysis. So now this really outlines 5 key areas or categories rather. So I've got it down into usage-based fees, base platform, uplift, payment processing revenue, add-on modules, and managed service. So, it also is giving me the analysis again. And the donut on the left, again, this sort of level of reporting is just so important because when you look at this, you're like, okay, great, I've got 38 million in trailing 12 months across all categories. That looks really good. But when you break it down by category, I can see where the actual downfall is and what is negatively impacting the revenue. So now I'm going to be talking again about, well, how's our contract, working? And do we need to change certain things out of the business? I might talk to Brandon and figure out what do we need to do there? What are the trends that we're seeing and how can we best support our customers? So I think that's really valuable information. It's got that expansion by type, by month. And then I love to see like the breakout products again. So for those of you that have a multi-product portfolio inside of, Maxio, you're able to spot which modules are growing and compounding. And then I might use this information to say, okay, we need to educate our customers on these areas. What sort of marketing campaigns are we doing? Or how am I working with product then to make sure we're looking at product requests and we're taking it to the next level to really unlock this for our customers. So again, just really insightful information at the tips of my finger. And then the negatives too, which is this piece, which is this dashboard is highlighting some of the challenges and maybe where we need to have the right conversations for the business. So, and then it breaks down those top expansion details and then the summary again. So I hope you find that, this is really impactful information. I can action on this with my team. I can look at this regularly. And Dan is actually going to cover in the next session, Dan, our CFO, a deeper white space analysis that he built out, which I couldn't steal his thunder because he is very excited about what he built there. It dives much deeper into how you can dissect your customer portfolio and see what are they using, what are they not using that we need to educate them on and enable them on, and what is opportunity for growth. So that's a really exciting piece as well. So let's go back to Claude and see if it was able to finish the analysis. Looks like it was. So it has now, let's scroll back up to my request. It looks like it changed the assumptions. It has now updated the dashboard. Let's scroll down. It's validated what I was looking for. And now it's giving me that summary on the KPI bar. And now I can open this analysis to see what has changed. Let's take a look. So now if I look at my risk triage, look at this dynamic report. So I hadn't done this yet, but now I can see April, May, June. I can see my risk flags that I asked it to curate for me around cancellation requested. Those are maybe the ones that we can't necessarily triage or that we are going to go see and get feedback from, because feedback is a gift, So reaching out to those accounts. And then ones that we need to be concerned with, their usage is overall down. How do we need to enable them or reach out to them and educate them on what they have and the value of the platform? And then any that are past due, because we know that this could be a sign for those that might not be leveraging the platform or be checked out, or we've lost a champion at that company. So you can see, and now you can toggle by value, by any signal, by stacking the two signals next to each other. This is really insightful. And now I can see not just April, but I can click into May and June. So now I can take this information and now I want to ask my team about it. And I want to know, where am I going to get involved? So this is incredibly valuable. If I go back to chat, I might want to say, update this skill to include these changes on the dashboard. We want to make sure that these changes are saved as part of this skill now. So it's going to go ahead and do that. What I'm also then going to ask it is to draft a Slack message for me to send to my management team, because I want to know, of those top 20 at-risk accounts that I can see here now. Here you can see the side view. Of these at-risk accounts, how should I get involved? So I mentioned that I might ping Claude about Gong and try to get some transcripts about what's happening. But now I also want to look at the data further to get it in the hands of my team. So it's going to save this skill. While it's doing that, another thing that you can do is schedule the skill. But let's first go back to drafting the Slack message to my team. So let's put this in the other chat while the other one is loading. Pretty cool how it can work to draft this message based off of this dynamic information that we have in the dashboard. And then you can actually ask it to pull this information regularly. So for me, I don't necessarily want to go through all of this every Monday and Friday. I want it to schedule this, and I want it to draft me an email. I have Claude Cowork set up in my Google Drafts or my Google Gmail, and Slack and Notion. So it can look at those items. It can draft an email for me to send to my team on these updates. Or as you can see here, it can draft a Slack. So now it's drafted this Slack to my team about what I'm jumping into this week, what my expectations are, and then I can get more specific on what else I want it to dig into. Pretty cool stuff. Let's go back here and see if it was able to save the skill, and then we can, so it's rewriting and fixing the skill, and then we can look at scheduling that skill, and I can show you how to save it. You could save it as an artifact. You can share this dashboard with others on your team. And you can also make skills shareable. So while we're waiting on that, let me show you. So once you have your skill saved, which for me is this operational analysis, I can go share. I can share this to everyone within my Maxio Claude instance, so that has access to this Claude instance, or I can individually send it to people. So now they automatically have access to this skill. And remember, in order to leverage it, all they have to do is go to the new chat, click the plus, click the skills, select the skill, and run it. And that's it. And then they can manipulate the data on their own for how they want to dive into it. Let's see if this one's saved yet. It's thinking about it. So what have I missed? Are there any questions so far about how we're doing this? Let me see. How sure are you about the definition of customer segments, whether they reflect consistent differences in buying and renewing behavior? Can you use Maxio data and also CRM data to analyze behavior and define customer segments in their first place? So yes, I think it really depends on, we're using certain reports. So the reports that I use inside of Maxio to look at this information is on ARR by product family and item, all customer ARR, ARR by ARR and logo, ARR by customer name and number. And then we have chosen to define segments by employee size. So it is really up to how you are defining segments at your business, whether that's revenue or employee size, and you can manipulate that. And then we can also ask Claude, like, maybe you want to look at segments differently for this read only, see how that changes your vision of, are you segmenting the right way for the business, or should you think about segmenting different? So what is cool about this is you could ask Claude if you want to slice it differently to determine, as a sales leader too, do I need to change our segmentation for next year based on what's happening with our current customer base? And yes, we do use CRM data. So when I mentioned Salesforce, we do have some of that feeding back into Maxio, so that Maxio is that main hub, so I can understand, what's going on with our customers. Like I mentioned, any cancellation requests or health risk, health scores, I can see all of that in there. How are you seeing cancellation notices within Maxio? We use Plan Hat for our CS team, but it would be cool to have that information in Maxio too. Yeah, we're using it through our CRM. So we have Salesforce feed that information back into Maxio. So I'm not sure if you have Plan Hat integrated into Maxio, but you could reach out to your account manager or follow up with me after this, and we can talk about ways that we might be able to get that data into Maxio via CSV so that you can have that in real time while you're looking at your customer information here. What else? Any other questions? Awesome. Yeah, integrating into Salesforce is great. And if you have any questions about your integration into Salesforce, reach out. We are constantly, innovating and improving our integrations into, ERP, CRMs, as we know, like having a core data hub is just so, so important. But, I think it's just often overlooked at how you can, in sales even use these dashboards to dynamically understand the business better. So this is still saving. It's updating that skill. This is exactly why I pre-ran some of the skills, but really exciting stuff to then update this skill, be able to share it with the rest of your org so that maybe other leaders in your leadership team aren't recreating the wheel. You guys are looking at the same structure of data, but then maybe digesting it and manipulating it differently. So now it saved it. It updated the tab 2 KPI bar that we asked. It can run the dashboard one more time for us, but it has now saved it as a new skill. It recapped like what all changed within that skill. And then we'll just ask it to run it one final time for that update, and then we'll save it. Any other questions while we're waiting on that? I am using Claude, you're right, and you're working in chat, not co-work. So you are correct. I am working in just chat. You're right. Yep. Because the skills that I'm pulling are just from the new chat, and then I'm triggering that skill. I use co-work on like my core desktop to connect to other applications. But for everything that you've seen here, you're right. I'm just using chat and skills and connectors. Any other questions? All right, so it's saving this. I want to quickly touch on Dan and what he's covering. And one more time, just some of the value here. And of course, I've touched on one thing in this in this conversation, which is skills, manipulating the skills, the type of data that you can look at to understand the health of your revenue and dive deeper into that, so that as a leader, I can then create actionable insights and reach out to my team directly. I can also schedule these things then to run automatically, and schedules, it will show up right here as another like section. So anything that's scheduled will show up here. I click on that, and then it'll either, I can ask for it to email me that, or it'll just show up in my schedules with like a blue dot that it's new. And then I can click on it. It will have refreshed this dashboard at whatever cadence I'm asking it to. So having that is pretty incredible, because I'm not then doing anything. I'm opening up Claude, I'm clicking on that, it's got the updated information. And then from there, I might ask it, what's changed in the at-risk customers? What's changed in the at-risk renewals coming up that I need to dig into? So that's where we're taking it. Now, I mentioned that Dan is going to be talking about further white space analysis. In his webinar, he's also going to talk about cash forecasting. He's going to mention anomaly detection and FP&A and calculating unit economics. And then he's going to go through governance and security, and why he feels agentic finance is safer than spreadsheets and how they're using it. So I hope you can make that session as well. You can see the dashboard is all updated now. And now I'm going to ask it to schedule to run every Monday and Friday. We'll see. It can schedule. I've scheduled it before. So, hey, we're bound to run into one objection from Claude every now and then. But it is really neat to refresh this data. And again, if you're not scheduling it, then you just have to go to a new chat and run the skill. It'll run it, and it is updated from refreshed information. But I do have skills running as scheduled for me. And then I'm also creating a schedule for it to ping me a synopsis to send to my team every Monday morning. I mean, I'm also using it for outbound, when we look at like the new business side of the company, I'm also using it to track their outbound productivity and what the team is doing. So skills are just incredibly powerful. I'm definitely grateful to have found that recently and be able to leverage it to run more efficiently. So like I said, there are a couple resources here to configure it. You can reach out to your account manager as well. You can submit a support ticket if you're like, hey, I just don't know exactly what to do, or I'm not seeing it. How can I get some help? And then we also have some example prompts. And like I said, keep an eye out for the skills that we're going to be releasing to the greater team. Dan's episode is May 13th from 3 to 4 Eastern. So tune into that one. That's the last one of the series. I'm hoping we can get our active MCP users to exceed 1,000 here. Like I said, we're already at over 600, which is really cool to see the adoption. There's just so much coming out and so much that we're doing this year at Maxio. I'm excited to get closer to our customer base and just appreciate your time here on this webinar. I hope you got a couple of bits of information that you can take to your team. So thanks so much for hopping on. If there's any other questions, I'll stay on for a minute and look at the chat. All right. Thanks, everybody.